final day of August in 2014, the Heritage Motor Centre at Gaydon in Warwickshire became the venue for the very first staging of the Buses Festival. Vehicles started arriving early in the morning, this Bedford coach being one of the first to arrive well before the 10 a.m. start time of the event. Vehicles with links to the area played a big part in proceedings, this single decker carrying the famous Midland Red livery.
Well, here we are at the Heritage Motor Centre at Gaydon, all ready for the Buses Festival 2014. I'm with Alan Miller, who's the editor of Buses magazine. We're looking forward to a great day, Alan.
We are indeed. We're hoping to have around about between 70 and 80 buses coming along today, all sorts of different types, ages, makes, shapes, sizes, colours.
And we're not just about heritage vehicles, we've got some very modern vehicles too.
We have, yes. We're expecting to have an electric bus producing no emissions at all, and at least 2 vehicles with the latest Euro 6 low-emission diesel engines.
And we've got a bit of a West Midlands theme running as well, haven't we? We've got a number of vehicles representing the region.
We have. There are vehicles from Birmingham City Transport, from Midland Red, from West Midlands, from West Bromwich Corporation fleets as well.
And of course, it's not just about the vehicles themselves. There's trade stands, and we've got some of the displays indoor as well.
Yes, we're going to have people selling all sorts of things, from photographs to models to other collectible items, spare parts for restored vehicles, which is a very important thing for people to be buying when they're coming to an event like this today, and displays of die-cast models which are from collectors of those.
Yeah, and of course, we're blessed with some fine weather, so let's hope the people come here in the numbers.
Clear signage means there is no confusion as to where exhibits have to head as this superb-looking 1951 Leyland Tiger PS2 coach rolls up. The body was built by Thomas Harrington of Hove and was among the last coaches to feature the half-cab design. Aimed at passenger comfort, the dorsal fin feature at the rear contains the vehicle's ventilation system. A 1965 Leyland Leopard, complete with Harrington Grenadier bodywork, makes its arrival. The Ellen Smith Company was based in Rochdale, Lancashire, and became one of the best-known coach operators in the northwest of England. This Volvo appears in a Leicester Corporation Tramways livery, carried by buses in 1924. The first group, who absorbed the concern, painted it along with the double-decker, which wears the livery introduced in the 1960s, to mark 90 years since municipal motorbus operations began in Leicester. The Leyland Olympian here dates from 1984, some 15 years after the Mexborough and Swinton Company, whose colour scheme it carries, had disappeared from the scene. A former Northampton Corporation Daimler double-decker also arrives for checking in. The Mexborough and Swinton Company became part of the Yorkshire Traction Company in 1969. The Leyland moves off. A 1973 City of Oxford Bristol VR double-decker heads towards the Viertel display area. It carried this National Bus Company local coach livery when new and used to work the route between Oxford and London. The Northampton Corporation double-decker, which dates from 1968, sets off after checking in. The Birmingham and Midland Motor Omnibus Company was much better known as Midland Red. It was the largest bus company in England, and this example, which proudly carries its well-known colour scheme, is seen arriving for the groundbreaking event. Dating from 1937, this was the oldest bus displayed at the 2014 festival. The Metro Camel body seen on the vehicle here actually dates from 1939 and replaced the original in 1950. A Birmingham City Transport livery is carried. A Bedford OB arrives. This particular model of bus and coach was one of the most successful in post-war Britain, with more than 12,000 being built between 1945 and 1951. This rare post-war example of a Tilling-Stevens half-cabbed coach heads off for the display area. The duple-bodied bus version of the Bedford OB moves off. The Daimler chassied Birmingham City Transport double-decker also makes a move. The Associated Equipment Company of Southall in London, better known simply as AEC, was highly regarded for the buses it produced. This ex-London Transport AEC Regent carries the livery of Browns Blue, a former Leicestershire operator. The Leicester City Transport liveried AEC dates from 1961. It is a chassisless Park Royal Bridgemaster and is intended for working under low bridges. There was only ever 180 of this style of bus built. Sporting the Devon General colour scheme, this AEC Regent 5 entered traffic in the West Country in 1966. One of the newest vehicles on display, this 16 Optare Versa, was supplied to Trent Barton in order to work its Rainbow One services into Nottingham. This second Optare Versa is indeed a truly green bus. Being fully electric driven, the batteries are recharged overnight. Another of the really up-to-date buses to visit the event, this Scania N230 UD double-decker, is operated by Nottingham City Transport. It has an Alexander Dennis Enviro 400 body. Returning to the good old AEC now, and this 1967 AEC Renown features a Northern Counties body which carries the livery of City of Oxford Motor Services. The AEC manoeuvres into position in front of the main Gaydon Museum building. An attractive-looking Trent Motor Traction liveried single-decker joins the ever-growing selection of vehicles on display as the time approaches to open the gates to the public. Sporting an Alexander Y-type body, this 1982 Leyland Leopard is one of more than 2,800 similarly bodied vehicles that once formed part of the state-owned Scottish Bus Group fleet. It is followed closely by a 1949 Leyland. The coach was new to Bournemouth Corporation. The well-known Scarborough-based Plaxton Company produced the body for this early example of a mid-engined Bedford. Carrying the cream and black colouring associated with the seafront buses of Brighton, Hove and District, this Bristol low-decker entered traffic in 1967. Shortly after the gates open, vehicles that are scheduled to give public rides both around the site and out on the road spring into action. This 1966 Leyland Leopard, today in the ownership of the Buses magazine Republic of Ireland correspondent Ian Malloy, had travelled all the way to the event from Dublin. Not all the buses and coaches were programmed to provide rides. Some were presented purely on static display. The smartly presented Wye Valley Coaches Half Cab Leyland form part of the static ranks and is seen adjacent to other half cabs that date from the days prior to total dominance of more modern looking full-fronted public service vehicles. A pair of half-cab double-deckers stand together, and whilst the cream-coloured liveried AC Bridgemaster would appear the more modern of the pair, dating from 1961, the red Northampton Corporation Daimler is newer and dates from 1968. The Daimler CVG6 was the last of its model built for use in the UK and was in fact one of the final front-engine rear-platform half-cabs to enter service in the whole country. A pair of Daimler half-cabs are seen wearing the livery of West Bromwich Corporation, which became part of the West Midland Passenger Transport Executive in 1969. The single-decker CVG5 is powered by a Gardner 5-cylinder engine and sports a Metro Camel body. It was built in 1952 when its design was all but outdated. The double-decker is a CVG6 with a Gardner 6-cylinder engine and a Wayman body. Today found at the Black Country Living Museum, it emerged from restoration in 2013. Tilling-Stevens was one of the market leaders in the early years of bus production. Introduced in 1947, this is one of the last models it produced. It is one of only 2 examples that carried the Scottish Aviation of Prestwick body. Bearing a fictitious livery today, it was pressed into use giving rides. The Daimler name was well represented, and this 1950 example of the CV D6 model forms part of the array of vehicles on show adjacent to the main museum building. A 35-seater body is fitted and was built by Wayman in Surrey, whilst the City of Exeter liveried single-decker is powered by Daimler's own 6-cylinder engine. The Exeter Municipal Transport Department was absorbed into the Devon and General Division of the National Bus Company in 1970. It moves forward out of the ranks. Part of the contingent of buses and coaches assigned to provide rides, the Daimler awaits loading before setting out on its journey. The Cryche Tramway Museum in Derbyshire is a popular heritage transport centre in its own right, but would certainly not have existed in 1940 when this vehicle was built. Midland Red built many of its own buses and also supplied some associates with vehicles. This example started out life with the Trent Motor Traction Company. It is captured in action. This single-decker is emblazoned in the famous Midland Red colour scheme. The S22 model was new in 1968 and today in preservation is lovingly cared for by the Leicester Transport Heritage Trust. It climbs away as it starts out on its journey, carrying passengers, many of whom may carry fond memories of Midland Red buses. This 1969 Bristol RE coach bearing a Crosville livery sets out now. Crosville was the National Bus Company's Chester-based subsidiary. The Bristol got to perform out on the road. This model of Bristol was very sophisticated in its day and featured a rear engine along with air suspension. Apparently from a totally different era, this Guy Arab model LUF in fact dates from just 10 years earlier in 1959 and sports a Burlingham Seagull coach body. The vehicle carries the colours of Harper Brothers of Heath Hayes in Staffordshire. Harper Brothers was one of several operators acquired by Midland Red in the mid-1970s. The Seagull coach body became very popular with customers following its introduction in 1950. The Guy Arab heads for a run out on the local roads. Vehicles were programmed to travel around either of two preordained routes. A collaboration between British Leyland and the National Bus Company, the Leyland National is to date the only British mass-produced bus, and in excess of 7,000 were turned out between 1971 and 1985. Returning to the half-cab design now, and the double-decker seen earlier that carries the livery of Browns Blue, another operator that ultimately became part of the Midland Red concern. The ex-London Transport RT-type AEC Regent is captured in action. The roundabout is carefully negotiated. The double-decker heads back towards the Gaydon site. Back on the museum site, resplendent in its array of period advertising, the classic-looking AEC is manoeuvred back into position. Another AEC Regent, this time in the colours of Samuel Ledyard, a former Yorkshire operator that closed for business in October 1967. The company bought several AEC Regents from London Transport, and indeed following the founder's death in 1952 purchased mainly second-hand vehicles up until its closure. The AEC is fitted with a Weyman low-bridge body and was one of those designated to provide rides. Sat adjacent to the AEC Regent is a double-decker typical of those bought for use in Birmingham between 1950 and 1954. Referred to as Birmingham Standards, all 900 vehicles looked externally pretty much the same, but had a mix of Crosley, Daimler or Guy chassis with Crosley and Metro Camel bodywork. This is the last survivor of 100 Crosley DD42-6 vehicles and aptly also carries the Crosley body. There's very little doubt that the Viertel here is an AEC product, and it's the 1967 renown in City of Oxford motor service colours seen earlier. 251 of these low-height chassied Viertels were turned out over a period of 5 years, and, with a total of 43, more went to the Oxford operator than any other. This last renown to be built heads out onto the local roads. The Brighton and Hove District open-top Bristol low-decker is seen in action now. The Bristol, although new to the South Coast operator, spent a good deal of its life with the Eastern Scottish division of the Scottish Bus Group and was converted to an open-top Viertel at the end of its life in Scotland. The low-decker was the first double-deck bus chassis to be built to low-height specifications, and the model was produced until 1968. Here it stands adjacent to another Viertel with Scottish links. The Alexander-bodied Leyland Atlantean carries the Greater Glasgow Passenger Transport Executive livery. The Atlantean became the first rear-engine double-decker in Britain and was produced between 1958 and 1984. The route indicator here gives a destination of Kilnhurst, which may well have been served by the Mexborough and Swinton Company in South Yorkshire, but certainly not in a Viertel like this Leyland Olympian. New to the West Riding division of the National Bus Company, the Leyland has an Eastern Coachworks body. The Mexborough and Swinton concern ultimately became part of the Yorkshire Traction Company, and this 1984 Viertel provides a vision of what might have been had it survived as an independent operator into the 1980s. Towards the end of the event, the West Bromwich single-decker heads for the exit. It is followed closely by the Midland Red S22 single-decker. This rare 1987 Leyland Lion joins the stream of Viertels heading home. New in only the spring of 2014, this Volvo follows suit. The Van Hool Astromega double-deck coach works the frequent Oxford tube service along the M40 between Oxford and London. The largest Viertel to attend the festival pulls away from Gaydon. The Ellen Smith Leyland makes its move away from the ranks. This 1980 National Express Leyland Leopard coach approaches the exit. Complete with its royal blue liveried Eastern Coachworks body, this 1962 Bristol model MW coach follows suit. The smart-looking royal blue fleet once operated coach services between the West Country and London. Another Bristol Viertel, the City of Oxford double-decker, commences its homeward journey. A 1950 AEC passes through the main gates. The Midland Red livery is seen for a final time as this D9 double-decker makes its departure. Making its exit, Northampton 267 was the last front-engined half-cab Daimler built for use in the UK. The number of vehicles remaining is rapidly diminishing as the Guy Arab climbs away. New in 1963, this Bedford Val coach very much reflects the mood of optimism present in the early 1960s, and its design is certainly forward-thinking. Known as a twin steer with 6 wheels, the forward 4 were used for steering. The Tilling-Stevens heads homeward. Although the destination indicator shows Exeter, thankfully the Daimler has nothing like this length of journey home. This former Southdown single-decker makes its exit. The Mexborough and Swinton liveried double-decker is one of the final vehicles to make its departure from the inaugural Buses Festival.
So here we are, it's the end of the show. Weather's still great, and it's been a good day, hasn't it, Alan?
It's been an excellent day. We've had at least as many vehicles as we were expecting to find. 1 or 2 vehicles came that we hadn't known were coming, we were very pleased to see them come as well. And crowds of people have been coming as well.
It's difficult to know exactly how many people have been in, but I mean, we were hoping to get between 1,500 and 2,000 people for this first event here, but the signs are that we've absolutely slaughtered that figure. I mean, it's been absolutely packed today.
It certainly seems to be. We seem to be at very least in high single figures of thousands of people have been along today. And also the very gratifying thing is how many happy visitors there have been who have been saying nice things about the event, that they enjoy the format, and they're very much hoping that there will be more like this in the years to come.
Well, certainly we hope to put it on again next year, and as you can see in the background, the last few vehicles are now leaving the site, and we've had a very busy timetable today of services going out on the local roads, and really it's gone like clockwork.
It does seem to have, and there have been occasions when there have been crowds of people waiting, keen to go on these tours, and they have been accommodated. They've waited patiently when necessary, and we've been able to provide extra vehicles to take them and give them the rides that you don't get at every bus event.
Yeah, and I think it says something that in many cases we've actually had to put a second and even a third vehicle on to strengthen the advertised departures, so it's all looking pretty good.
It is indeed, and we've had a good mixture of vehicles, old vehicles, new vehicles, types from different places, which has given people the opportunity to sample something different if they take more than one ride in the course of the afternoon.
And of course we had a vehicle come all the way from Ireland.
We did indeed, yes. Ian Malloy, who is the buses correspondent every month for the Republic of Ireland, had brought his 1966 Leyland Leopard, a vehicle that's probably never been in the UK since the chassis was built here back then nearly 50 years ago.
Well, it's been absolutely fantastic, so if you didn't come to the show this year, make sure you come next year.